Welcome back to the Big Book Roundtable and the RICO 12 family of recovery resources. We're so grateful to be a resource as helpful as we strive to be, or maybe not helpful sometimes, but we sure strive to be helpful for people from all backgrounds, faiths, traditions, 12-step fellowships, whatever you may be in. We're just grateful to try to help you out. I'm Justin. I'm a child of an all-powerful and all-loving God and a multidisciplinary addict living in miraculous recovery. And I'm so happy to be able to sit around this round table with two of my favorite people in the world, David G. and Nikki M. Before we get into reading here, let's have them introduce themselves real quick. David, why don't you start us off today?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for your service here today, Justin and Nikki. Always good to be with you at the roundtable, sister. I love you. I'm David G. from Oklahoma, recovered alcoholic addict. Been given the gift of the grace of God since August 8th of 1994. And I'm super glad to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We're happy you're here too. Nikki, your turn.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki M., broadcasting live from Toronto, Canada, having a great time here at a virtual roundtable with my commencing shoulder to shoulder, our common journey with Justin B. and David G. And I'm excited to get what I like to call God dope. There's an endless supply here at the roundtable, and it's free.
Awesome. Yes, it is free. If in these free sessions that you're sitting with us, you feel nudged to donate to help us keep the lights on here at RICO 12 and continuing growing these resources for more and more people out there, go ahead and check out the show notes to donate as you can or as you feel guided to do so. If not, no worries. Enjoy this God dope for free. We aren't here to make money. We're here to make connections. All right. Here we go into our reading today. We're continuing in the chapter How It Works. Starting at the bottom of page 65, we went back through our lives, and we'll be going through page 66, the paragraph that ends with "These things are poison." We're going to be talking a lot about resentment. We started that this last time, and we started that inventory, and we're going to start or continue where we left off there. Here we go. We went back through our lives. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. When we were finished, we considered it carefully. The first thing apparent was that this world and its people were often quite wrong. To conclude that others were wrong was as far as most of us ever got. The first outcome was that people continued to wrong us and we stayed sore. Sometimes it was remorse, and then we were sore at ourselves. But the more we fought and tried to have our own way, the worse matters got. As in war, the victor only seemed to win. Our moments of triumph were short-lived. It is plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and unhappiness. To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the alcoholic, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, this business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal, for when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the Spirit. The insanity of alcohol returns, and we drink again. And with us, to drink is to die. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal men, but for alcoholics, these things are poison. All right, that's our reading today, and I'm excited to get into this. Resentment is something that, well, it's a killer. It says so in black and white right there. Let's get into this. And David, why don't you take us through and tell us some things that jump out at you?
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. And he's absolutely right. This is the number one offender. That's why there's going to be so many names on that list, institutions and principles. That's why it's going to be a long list, because it is the number one soldier of self. So bottom of where Justin started there, we went back through our lives. So we're talking about from the time I'm little until the time I'm at now. I need to remember, but I'm doing this prayerfully as well. Now we are going back through our life. Nothing counts but thoroughness and honesty. So if you haven't been thorough and you haven't been honest, might as well throw it away, because that is a requirement here. So when we finish, we're going to consider it carefully. Now I'm getting to do some consideration. So for me, that's meditation. I'm going to kind of reflect on what I've done here. And I'm going to come to this conclusion. The first thing apparent is that this world and its people were often quite wrong. That's column 2. We've already done that. If you've done the work up to this point, you've already done that. Now, to conclude that others were wrong, column 2, was as far as most of us ever got. And if you look real close at that sentence, we're talking about the first 100 people that wrote the book. Now, if they never got any further than that, that tells me that they never went past the second column in inventory. And if you went past that, you already got further than they did. Well, let's look at what happened as a result of them not doing that. They got relief in step 3. There's no doubt we all do. But remember on 64, it said this will have little or permanent effect unless it once followed. Well, here it is. We continue to stay sore. Sometimes it's remorse, and then we're sore at ourselves. Man, I'm so stupid. I shouldn't have done that. I wish I hadn't said that. Oh, man, I just can't. If I don't have the tools to deal with that in my recovery, I may not drink, but at least, you know what? I'm going back to sleep spiritually. I just am. So the more we fight and try to have our own way, the worse matters got, and more the victor only. Notice how that's italicized there. Seem to win. Now, he's going to tell me 7 times on this page. We didn't go to the bottom paragraph. The rest of them are down there. But he's going to tell me 7 times on this page, if I don't get free of anger, it's going to kill me. 7 times. It is plain that a life, which includes deep resentment, leads only to futility and unhappiness. Look up that word futility and let me know what that means. We die. To the precise extent that, notice this key word, we permit these. See, I always thought it was your fault this shit was happening to me. It was my mama's fault. It was that stepdaddy's fault and all the stuff that went on. No, the book says you're the one who permitted these. You're going to take ownership of it. And until you do, you're never going to get any better. Now, I know there's things that happened to us when we were little that we didn't have any control over, but I'm a grown man now. And there's tools here for me to use. There just are. There's a way out. Do I want to continue to be the victim or do I want to be free? My tribe was the first tribe in Oklahoma to ever make the Trail of Tears walk. I can trace my ancestry all the way back and show you how many people died on that trail. And they wouldn't even let them stop to bury them. They just kept walking, bare feet, cold. I could play victim of that all day long. I could. But you know what? I don't have to do that anymore. I'm free. I'm free from those resentments because I was the one allowing them. It says, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile? But the alcoholic whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, this business of resentment is infinitely grave. That's death. It will kill me. It's fatal. There's that word again. That's connected to death. When harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the Spirit. See, the Spirit doesn't do that to us. We do that. People say, I don't understand that. Well, I can't feel Spirit. I don't feel Spirit. Well, it's like at night, you walk out on a pitch dark night and you can't see anything. You look up to the sky. You can't see the sky either, but you know damn well it's there. Are you telling me there's no sky? Bullshit. It's the same way with this. I'm the one who shut myself off from the sunlight of the Spirit because self deceived me into darkness. It just did. I'm outside in the pitch black night, stone cold sober, and can't figure out what's wrong with me. Well, I'm harboring these resentments. You think about all these ships at the harbor. If you've ever been down to a harbor, you can see they're just crammed in there. They're not out at the sea free. They're in there, and I'm walking the shores, making sure they're all in line. So I'm holding on to these resentments. And when I do that, the insanity of whatever it may be returns, and I drink again. That's a promise here. And for me to drink is to die. There it is again. He's mentioned that, about 3 or 4 times here? If we were to live, the opposite of living is dying. There it is again. We got to be free. Here it is again of anger. I mean, he's telling me you better do what we're saying here, or else the outcome for you is not going to be good, even in sobriety. Grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious, and if you look that word up in the Webster's dictionary, it means doubtful. So it's pretty doubtful that it's a luxury for them, but it's damn sure a fact for us. These things are poison, and I know you've heard that old saying in AA: "You drink poison, hoping someone else will die," and this and that. No, hell, I drink poison. I don't care if me or you both dies. I want us both to die. So this is so deep, and if we do not get free of this, and I've seen this, man, I have guys show up with years and years of sobriety, and they're dying on the vine, and they can't understand why. There's a way out. We go to 10:11 first, back up, come through these chapters, and we address this anger. It's like the thorn in the side. It's another book I read. The man said there was a thorn in my side. And I know what he's talking about now, because this is the thorn in my side. But I got to look at who put it there. I was believing a lie, and based on that, I stuck it in my own side. I just did. And so now I get to see the truth and get to pull it out, and it's damn sure not, it's going to be painful. But the good news is we get to heal. So anyway, thank you, Justin. Glad to be here.
Thank you, David. Love the run through there. Nikki, your turn to run through. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that jump out at you as we read those paragraphs.
Well, I'm just laughing because, we're all the same. When David said, I don't care if you die, I'm just going to die with you. It's like, that's exactly what my sponsor, Cameron F. says. He's like, I'm going to blow up the whole world, but I don't care if I die. I'll just blow up the whole world with me. And it's just awesome to see that, like, for years I went, where are my people? They're right here in the 12-step rooms of any anonymous. Okay, to the book. Now listen, I love this too. Like, I love what David says. Like, if your sponsor says something different, go with your sponsor. If David said something, or I say something, or Justin, just follow what the book says. When we go back through our lives, okay, so we went back through our lives, and a lot of people, their sponsor, recently I had one, my sponsee, he had a new sponsor, and he said, I want you to write 500 names. Where's the word 500 there? It says, we went back through our lives. Guess who made it onto his 500 list? Nikki M did. You see, I don't even know if he had a resentment, to be honest. And even if he did, whatever the situation was, you go back through your life, 500 names. I've heard people locked up with their sponsees for 4 months on these names. You understand, like this, I'm real. If your sponsor tells you to write down 500 names, go with your sponsor. We're going to go back through our lives, because I read another book, Wally P., Back to Basics. And it says it's not necessary for the newcomer to talk about every resentment or selfish act or each person they have ever lied to or harmed for the inventory to be thorough. Remember, my guy's going to pick up crystal meth. My girl's going to go kill herself because he's not calling anymore. So I got to get them through these steps real quick. And it says, to be thorough, the object is to get down to causes and conditions. Remember, we're trying to get down to causes and conditions. And in my case, this is true for me. Sometimes it only takes a few incidences to make clear which shortcomings have kept the newcomer, Nikki, blocked from an intimate two-way relationship with the one who has all power. Now, that's been my experience. So, and someone told me either too, I won't find the quote on here, but it's like the big shit, the big things that are blocking you. And you have to be thorough and honest. There it is. I mean, David did such a good job. And I love this word. You have to consider it, sponsee. It doesn't say run out, start getting freaked out, start panicking, start blowing your life up. It says consider these things. Just consider it. Okay, and I love this too on the next page. Now we're on page 66. This is pretty much daily. The usual, David went through all this, but I'm daily fighting this because I'm always sure that the world and the people are wrong, because my need to be right is so paramount. I mean, my arrogance, my need to play God, we read all these things, my actor who wants to run the entire show. And I'm very much today, I think last episode I identified as, hi, I'm Nikki, the love addict. Right now, I'm Nikki, Miss Al-Anon. And if anyone's sponsored Miss Al-Anon or Mr. Al-Anon, whoa, That's real scurry stuff, because this is only where we get to, is that, people wrong me. People wrong me and I stay sore. And here it is. The more I fight and try to have my own way, the more I play God, the more my need to be right, the more I don't follow the exact instructions of this book, Big Book, the program I've chose to get into, the worse my life gets. Full stop. And then I smiled when David went to this paragraph, because I was like, oh, what do I have written in my outline? 7 times you will die, Nikki. See, we're not all that different. We're all reading the same book. I love it. 7 times you'll die. And I love this. It says, I put on here, it's plain that a life which includes deep resentments, I put including fear, because remember, we're going to read soon that we're going to review our fears thoroughly, even though we have no resentment in connection with them. So I just write it there, including fears. I'm going to die. And you guys know, no one at the table's under 50 here. When I permit these, and I love what David showed, when I allow it, I squander, not just hours, people. I've squandered decades. Has anyone else squandered decades in your resentments that could have been worthwhile? I'm busy sitting here hating baby daddy number 2, not even present for son's 5th birthday. I'm just obsessing about me paying for the party. He hasn't given me any money for child support. Anyway, I won't drift out too far. And then, of course, squander the hours, days, decades that could have been worthwhile. Maintenance and growth, I've got to improve every day or I'll die. Fatal, I'll die. And the insanity of thinking. How about the insanity of my old belief system, as my friend David has drilled into me? I put thinking anywhere in my book, codependence, Al-Anon, anybody. With us, with Nikki M, to think. My old belief system, my old thoughts, my old values that we talked about on the last episode. I'm going to die. And Nikki's not just going to die 6 feet under, buried or burnt and cream and big celebrate. No, I'm the walking dead. I'm literally the walking dead, blotting out my consciousness with anger, which we're reading here. Because I haven't been free of anger, Nikki, Spearhead, Miss Noodle, Nikki. I'm not free of anger. I've been screaming my head off at my boyfriend. Well, status unknown in this minute, because I've been so busy being angry. I've been a grouch. I've been focusing on the bad tree rather than the beauty of the forest. And the brainstorm, I can't shut this shit down. David reached out to me, Justin, this old sponsor who's now my boss, showed up at my house because my brainstorm, I was beyond human aid, is what it says. When this sort of thinking is established, even my big book couldn't help me. I was under spiritual attack. I was under warfare, and I was not free of anger. My brainstorm did not shut down. And it was poison. But thank God, this book is becoming a working part of my mind. And I knew to pause and just sit still. And today I'm showing up for the podcast with a smile on my face. I love you guys.
Thank you, Nikki. All right, I've got a couple questions here. David, in the last episode and also in this one, you talked about when I sit down and when I move on from step 3, that prayer doesn't end with an amen. I get into doing my step 4 prayerfully. What does that look like as you're going through your writing of this? How does that, is it just a, hey, God, show me this, or is it something different than that?
Yeah, the way that it was taught, and I do have all of the examples and stuff on these emails that I could send, and you could put it in the show notes or whatever. But we always start with the 3rd step prayer, and then ask God to direct our pen, spirit. And really, you could say that's almost like 2-way prayer, but here's what they told me. If the doorbell rings and you go answer it and you come back, you've got to come back to prayer. Because if you don't, you've broken that connection with the spirit. And so you've got to connect again in order to write. They said if you have to get up, use the restroom, or answer a text message. I mean, this has to be done perfectly. It just has to. There is no amen at the end of step 3, because anytime you close out a prayer in the spiritual realm, it always ends with amen. So that's not a closed out prayer. That's an open-ended prayer. The amen doesn't come in until page 76 after step 7, because this entire body of work is leading us to that. So this is the way it was taught to me, and this is the way I do it with the guys that I work with. You have to stay connected to prayer. Otherwise, you're writing it from that lower system of thought. And, it's just not going to have the effect. I have people that call me to sponsor them all the time. They're like, hey, I've been through the steps, but I'm pretty miserable. And I just ask them, are you willing to take a different look at this? And when you get to inventory this time, are you prepared to do some serious writing? And I mean serious, because it's going to take a while. If you think you're going to breeze through this the way we do it in just a few days, nah, probably ain't going to happen, not unless you got a whole lot of time on your hands, which a lot of us don't. So anyway, to answer your question, though, it is so important that we stay connected to prayer here. If I'm not asking God to guide and direct my pen, my thinking, guess who's guiding and directing it? Yeah, we've talked about that a lot here. So thank you, brother. Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you, David. And yes, we will. So send me those things that you said that you could email to me. And if you out there in the listening audience want to get those, send an email to rico12pod@gmail.com. I will happily send those along to you. All right, Nikki, you dug in a little bit. Do we squander the hours? You said squander the decades, squandered the years of this. So for me, one of my big character defects is avoidance, procrastination, laziness, however you want to identify that. And that's squandering the hours. How do you, Nikki, recognize when that is happening, and what do you do to get away from the squandering of the hours?
Well, I believe my big book. My big book says I'm not a saint. Okay. My big book says, I can just go through the pages real quick. Page 60, I'm not a saint, spiritual progress. Page 117 says, you're going to make mistakes. This is exactly, Nikki, as it should be. Your old problems are still going to be with you, Nikki. My book says, must not drift off into morbid reflection, Nikki. So don't go back there. It says page 86, because 417 tells me that absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake, and that I'm supposed to live in the solution, not the problem. And then there's instruction on page 420 that tells me I'm never to just sit and do nothing while waiting for God to tell me what to do. I'm to do the next right thing. And how do I know what the next right thing is, Nikki? Well, page 102 says, my job is to be helpful. So is it helpful, yes or no? Well, I don't know. I'm agitated. Well, then the book says you better pause, Nikki, and you better relax and take it easy. And then it says, Nikki, that there's a substitution for all this crazy thinking, all this stuff. You better get to your fellowship, because you can't differentiate the true from the false right now in this moment. And you need others to speak the truth over you, Nikki. So, how do I live in the present moment? This is basic bottom line here. This is the most radical mindfulness program you will ever be in. But the Buddhists do it, Nikki. No. This is 12 step. It says, may you find God now. There's not a lot of room. See, next episode, we're going to read that this is our course. We picked 12 step. We picked a big book. We set we're following these instructions. So how do I, about squandering or not get lazy or all the things that you just said, Justin? I literally have to believe what my big book says. I have to do it to the best of my ability. And then this promise comes true. Suddenly I realize that God is doing for me what I cannot do for myself. Like, I'm feeling good today. That's crazy, because a couple days ago, I was blacked out, not on alcohol, not on someone's husband, everybody. I was blacked out on old thoughts and beliefs. And today I'm feeling real reborn. So thank you. I love it here.
Thank you, Nikki, for joining us around the round table and sharing that with us. I'm going to start off with my takeaway from this, and then we'll go to David and then to Nikki. My takeaway was when harboring such feelings, resentments, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the Spirit. I also read another book, and I'm reading about some dude who, long time ago, the story is that he had everything. And then overnight, he lost it all. He lost his family, he lost his property, he lost his cattle, he lost everything. And he didn't curse God. But as I'm reading through that stuff, he is complaining. He's like, why did this all happen to me? And you can see that he's turning away from God. He's not cursing God, but he's turning away. And then he's getting brought back by friends, and sometimes not brought back by friends. But I shut myself off. No matter what's going on out there, it's my reaction that shuts myself off from the sunlight of the Spirit. And that's my takeaway today. David, what's the takeaway you have today?
Yeah, I just think that we have been so deceived by self that we really haven't been capable of understanding that this isn't really us. These are the actions that we have took, but it was based on a system of thought that we didn't know anything about. And if you have thoroughly done this work up to this point, by now you've come to the realization that there is something, a power greater than you, that is full of chaos, not just serenity, peace, and joy. So really, I guess I take away is the tale of the old Cherokee Indian and his grandson. And you guys have probably heard this, many of you, sitting on the edge of a cliff, and the grandfather begins to explain to him that on the inside of you, son, is two wolves. One is evil, one is good. And they're in battle. And, as the grandson thinks about it, he says, well, which one wins the battle? And the wise old man said, the one you feed. So if you're feeding into bullshit from a lie that is in the inside of us and it's killing you, even sober, it's okay to say, you know what? I haven't had a new experience in a while. There might have been some things I missed through these steps. I need to drop my pride and go back and say, you know what? I'm all these years sober, but I really need some help here. And I had to be almost dead before I would do that at 25 years in here. You don't have to let it go that long. There are people that can help put you into this book and show you a new way of living. So I guess my takeaway is, you want to live or you want to die? And we ain't talking about just physically. I walked around a long time dead. I just did. So anyway, that's my takeaway. Thanks, Justin.
Love it, David. Thank you. The phrase that jumped into my head as you said that, get busy living or get busy dying, right? All right, Nikki, how about you? What's a takeaway for you?
Well, that this Canadian loves her American brothers, number one, and those accents you guys have. But here it is. It all starts with a willingness to be wrong. See, I need to be willing. Remember, this is about a willingness. We have to come with willingness, honesty, open-mindedness, and will. I have to be willing to be wrong. I had to text Mr. Luxembourg and say the other day, I was absolutely wrong. It's not easy to do when my need to be right or my need to conclude that he's wrong is as far as I get. So I have to, final thought, I have to have a willingness to be wrong about everything every day. Boop, boopy doo.
Thank you, Nikki. All right, everybody, as we close up this episode, just think back at what we discussed. If there was any inkling that you felt your higher power jump in and say, hey, take a look at that, dive deep with it, talk to your sponsor, talk to somebody in recovery who gets it, and see where that goes. See where your higher power leads you in that. And once again, a resource was brought up in here. If you would like to receive that resource, send an email to rico12pod@gmail.com. We'll get that sent out to you. And if you'd like to see what David and Nikki are doing, we've got links in the show notes of what they're doing, things that they're working on. If you'd like to get in contact with them, once again, email me, rico12pod@gmail.com. We can facilitate that connection. Everybody, this is good work. This is something that that will help you live and progress in amazing ways and come closer to your higher power. Being of more use and service to God and to your fellows is what we're here to do. And keep coming back. It works when I work it, so work it. You are worth it.